Good morning, and welcome back to the Wirraway versus Heclapar play-by-mail campaign. It is the 9th of January, 1942. And just a reminder, this is a Scenario 1 game with player-defined upgrades off and stacking limits applied to all hexes. Audio suggests one of the Dutch submarines damaged over the last couple of days has sunk. K11 is operating in the Sunda Strait. Some base cleanup off Sumatra where he has a garrison. Engineers arriving at Samalaki to begin preparing an airfield there. Base cleanup. Dot base cleanup. O23 operating off Samarang in the port hex. Neither side is successful. K11 has moved on to Osthaven. So we don't have a lot of air or naval operations going on this turn. We do have quite a few ground operations. Attacks at Rangoon. Armor attack at Palembang. Should be the final battle at Soerabaja. There's a fort building suppression at Singapore. Well, it should attack at Singapore next turn. And then our river crossing on the Ankang Road should occur to establish our bridgehead over the river with a minimum of 1/3 of the unadjusted AV of the enemy to be able to move follow-on forces without triggering additional shock attacks. Sign that his naval search has detected our task force approaching Johnson Island. Fatty's trying to disrupt his remaining units at Soerabaja. 5 destroyed engineers, another disabled. That's good news. Sonya's hitting the airfield to suppress fort building at Palembang. Lily's helping out at Singapore. happens. Looks like Kokazi might has a bit of a bead on 023 this time. So some damage. So 23 might be still combat effective. It's probably still combat effective. Pickerel. No harm, no foul to either side there. Okay. Here's our river crossing. So he has the 56 and 38 that are providing the majority of his combat power. And it doesn't look like either of those two units were greatly affected in the attack. And he has AT, so man artillery, so it'll be a bit of a fight here, which is good. Okay, my armor units are attacking only. So I'm getting about half the AV out of the tanks, and he is getting about 1.5 adjusted defense. Now remember, AV is just a proxy for what's actually happening. These are any soft values and any hard values being compared, but fire, squad firepower. Another 38 disabled and one destroyed squad, including and 10 engineers disabled. That's all good news. But we're going to have to generate after losses. He's probably going to be around 200 adjusted AV, depending on the Gary Grigsby die rolls. Uh, we'll have to generate 400 plus to make progress. We have about 700 AV in the hex, so we're close, but I think we'll need to add another division here once Singapore falls to ensure Palembang is done for. So just a bombardment attack. We're at full strength now, 2700 AV. We'll reform our divisions and attack. Rangoon will fall. The tanks are going to pursue.
Greetings, everybody. How's tricks? This is Orphan Anne from Radio Tokyo, saying hello to all of her dog faces and boneheads wandering the
Okay.
Pacific Islands.
Soerabaja will fall.
Before we start the music, the Japanese High Command announced today that the ever-victorious forces of the Japanese Empire have captured Rangoon.
31 destroyed engineers. That's similar. We've disabled a similar number of that over the preceding week of preparatory. So we'll see if nice gods were kind or not. Australians continue to hold out. Allies bombard. Allies bombard. And allies bombard. Just driving out his units from the Yellow River Valley along a retreat path into the mountains. These units are shadows of themselves now. Looking at what he has in this wooded rough hex, Wuchao, quite a bit uh, more than I can take uh, in the short run. I can grind him down eventually, but I don't have power in southern China to force that position at the moment. Okay, we'll speed through this. Okay, well, we can check what happened in the air. Not much. Lost to Kate. Old Kate to Op. Lost to Seagull. PBY DC2, and those match his losses. Again, double. Very both sides. What happened to Soerabaja? Like, the dice gods were not kind. Uh, We we got the 1/3 infrastructure damaged, but quite a bit of supply there. Some of that we brought in, some of it looks like it was left over. That's good news. Um, we have approximately half the supply on hand to repair the oil. We have another 34,000 here, and of course, Soerabaja will generate some of its own supply, so we can repair the oil without shipping in more supply, it looks like. And the good news is, looks like we might have caught some of his supply. Looks like we did catch some of his supply at Soerabaja, and it won't be available at Bandoing for his final defense. We're ready to attack at Kalijati and knock down one of the last two remaining airfields outside of Bandoing. Bandoing, is it makes sense for nearly every allied player to retreat there, get as much AA there, tough nut to crack, and just that airfield unsuppressed threatens oil throughout the Dutch East Indies. You could fly in B-17s from northern Australia and conduct a raid and then depart. So that forces a defensive posture around the oil throughout the Dutch East Indies. Of course, you can do carrier raids on the oil too. Our armor units are disrupted and fatigued, but given uh, 2 days or so, there'll be another attack. And if Singapore falls next turn, which is entirely possible, that we can be ready after clearing out mines and transport in about 4 days for final attack on Palembang. So by the 15th, certainly. And we have engineers and aviation support here that's going to arrive along with Corps Army artillery heavy guns here. So target Palembang this fall around the 15th. And we ought to have him mostly forced back to Bandoing, perhaps entirely forced back to Bandoing around the same time. And then we can focus on suppressing Bandoing, depending on how the attack at Singapore goes. We have some early phase two operation options, or if it doesn't go well, not. Check Rangoon. Looks like the die rolls were a little better here, about 25% damage instead of a third. On the Ankang Highway, we now know what he has. He has some reinforcements arriving or inbound. It's like the veteran 6th Division, pretty disrupted, but didn't lose many squads at all. 226. So it's 320 squads. I think it's TOE, 4 squads total lost there. Um, and looks like one engineering squad lost. So with this sort of level of disruption, we'll pull that division back and let it reorganize. And we have uh, a replacement, with multiple replacement divisions. The armor and artillery will all cross into the established bridgehead, and then we'll push on. So that's good. We're finally just about ready to attack around south of Changsha. Got some units here moving in the open. This fighters, AVG presumably is still in Chongqing. We're going to bring in 3rd Coup and Tainan Coup over the next 2 days, along with another unit of Oscar 1Cs, and we should be able to establish air superiority over any single target. Obviously, this is the decisive fight here, but we can't necessarily take the fight to him for another day or two until our units cross. So we've got some time to bring in the fighters. Happening here, we'll build up Samalaki. We're going to deliver a aviation headquarters here to establish torpedo carrying capability at Kopang to help control the Timor Sea. That is all developed. We're ready. We're going to grab Jagula Island and Rosso Island and put naval search aircraft, patrol aircraft here to push our eyes all the way down to the Coral Sea and cover where our submarines are operating in what I'll call the Rockhampton Gap, and then take Port Moresby and Horn Island and the Southern Solomons and be prepared to push on to New Caledonia. in the southern Gilberts is solid. Uh, we're building up Tabatua, which I looked up. The pronunciation appears to be correct, and building up Nauru Island. These are both atolls, and obviously can have pretty significant airfields on them. And Tabatua can have supporting airfields all around it, which makes it a tough nut to crack. Essentially, um, he's got to establish level 3 airfields with an air headquarters and use B-17s or B-24s to suppress multiple airfields because his medium bombers, um, even with P-38 support, will get chewed up over time uh, with multiple airfields from which they can cap. P-38s obviously are a great tool, but when they don't fly or they fly late and your mediums arrive into a heavy cap, you can lose entire squadrons in a single turn. Uh, in the Aleutians, he's been quite passive. We've got forces en route to grab the rest of the Aleutians, though we're a couple weeks out from being able to assault his troops in Dutch Harbor. But we'll continue to see how this develops and if he's going to give away the Aleutians in the short run. We'll take what he's given. Anyway, always enjoy the chance to share. We'll talk more about the plan for the Philippines going forward, but as you can see, I am pretty comfortable leaving the Philippines to starve while moving on to other phase 1 and phase 2 objectives. We'll talk again soon.